Hello everybody. I did video 4 earlier, but somehow it got deleted off my timeline, so I'm redoing this. I made some notes so that it'd be more concise about the organizations I'm going to discuss. So I'm actually combining video 4 and video 5 together. I'm going to be talking to you about organized sex trafficking, and I'm also going to talk to you about the organizations involved in the organized sex trafficking. So this is a very vast topic. I am giving you information, again, based on things that I've been through, based on things that my friends and people that I love have been through, and based on some of the information I have, being a IC adjacent person. Meaning IC adjacent means that I do some work with the intelligence community, but I'm not an actual agent. I'm IC adjacent because of what I've been through, and I work closely with the intelligence community. So some of this stuff that I'm sharing with you guys is stuff that I've been through, some is stuff that my friends have been through, and some is stuff that I'm allowed to share with you based on what the ICs have given me permission to. I'm not an IC agent myself. I'm friends with a lot of people in the intelligence community, but I myself am just IC adjacent. I work closely with them, but I'm not an intelligence community agent. Just so you guys know, I'm not saying that I am. I'm IC adjacent. I do operative type work with the intelligence community to try to bring down the worldwide trafficking and terrorism ring. Just because of what I've been through, I'm a very good source of info for them to try to bring down the trafficking ring, but I'm just IC adjacent. So I am not an actual agent. So I just want to get that clear before you guys go any further. I already shared this earlier, but I'm going to reshare it. I made some notes so that it would be more concise because earlier I was just rambling, but I think the conciseness of this will be work. So this is video 4 and 5 I'm putting together. I am discussing today with you about the organizations involved in sex trafficking and organized sex trafficking and how it's set up and what it looks like. So it's the same. These are 2 different videos put into one. I'm just covering 2 different topics. They're kind of go hand in hand, but it's actually should be 2 different videos. But because my other video disappeared, I'm combining these 2. So first of all, let's talk about organized sex trafficking. So what is organized sex trafficking? Well, it is established on many different levels. There's different levels of organized sex trafficking worldwide. I'm going to talk about a couple of the levels. Now, this is not concise. This is not perfect. This is not the entire list. This is just stuff that I know because of stuff I've been through, my friends have been through, or stuff that I know from being IC adjacent. So this stuff is just stuff that I can share. There's stuff that I'm not allowed to share that I'm not going to share. So the stuff I'm sharing with you is stuff that I'm allowed to share. There is stuff that I know that I can't share that's going to come out in the news eventually, prayerfully very soon. About stuff connected to Epstein and some of the high-level traffickers and some of the organizations involved. So this is just stuff that I know firsthand or secondhand from the information I have from my friends or from people who are in the intelligence community. So organized sex trafficking exists worldwide. It's a worldwide massive industry. You've heard the saying probably that prostitution is the world's first career, world's first job. Well, sex trafficking, obviously, for those of you who've never heard of sex trafficking, which I can't imagine never hearing that, but in case there is somebody out there who's never heard that term, sex trafficking is not willing sex work. Sex trafficking is coercion. Sex trafficking is kidnapping. Sex trafficking is being held hostage. Sex trafficking involves threats. Sex trafficking involves a lack of money. It is not willing prostitution. Prostitution was pretty much considered the first job in the world. But so is sex trafficking, the first crime pretty much in the world because they go hand in hand. Now, not every prostitute obviously is a sex trafficker. There's a lot of people that are in the prostitution that are willing adults that are making those consensual decisions. I'm not talking about prostitution. I am talking about sex trafficking. I'm talking about when people are coerced, forced, they're not making money, they're being sold into slavery. And again, this could be from being a child. This could be child sex trafficking, or this can be as an adult. It happened to me in both times. It happened as a child and also as an adult. So I went through it both times. Sex trafficking is elaborate. It exists on every level of society, but the kind that I'm talking to you guys about is the worldwide sex trafficking ring, which often coincides and often exists side by side with the Illuminati. Not every trafficker who is a trafficker is Illuminati, but everybody in the Illuminati is involved in the sex trafficking ring on some level. Trafficking also, when you involve the Illuminati aspect of it with the occult aspect, sex trafficking and the occultic aspect has to also do with terrorism. So the sex trafficking ring and terrorism go hand in hand. And I'm going to talk about terrorism tomorrow in my video. But tonight I'm talking to you about organized sex trafficking. Organized sex trafficking begins at the highest levels of the American government, of the Australian government, of the British government, of South African government, parts of the Russian government, parts of the Ecuadorian government, and I'm looking at my notes here, parts of the British, the Australian. So it's America, Australia, South Africa, British, parts of Russia, and parts of Ecuador are the main countries that are involved in the trafficking ring. Now, of course, there's traffickers everywhere. There are people who are bad everywhere, of course. There's people that hurt children and hurt people everywhere in the world. But the organized sex trafficking ring that I'm speaking about, the one that the celebrities and the politicians make money off of, primarily is based out of America with reaches in the United Kingdom, reaches in Australia, reaches in South Africa, reaches in parts of the Russian government, and reaches in parts of Ecuadorian government. This is what we're dealing with, guys. There is so many crimes going on behind the scenes. There was so much sex trafficking. It is so rampant. I know hundreds and hundreds of victims that have reached out to me. I know hundreds and hundreds of victims that want to talk. I know people, even at the highest level of government, who are bad, but also ones that are victims. I know both. I know people who've reached out to me in government that are survivors that want out. They're being handled. They're being coerced. They're being forced to be silent. They're having death threats. They're having threats against their family and their friends. People who are very famous, who are still actively being handled and being abused. And I also know people in the government and in politics and celebrities who are high-level traffickers, which I'm going to name names. I was trafficked by 60 celebrities celebrities or politicians who actually were involved in the trafficking. And then there was even more of those people that made money off my body, off of raping me, off of abusing me. And there was even more involved in the stalking that I endured trying to cover up the trafficking, because I've been trying to expose this for years, and they're angry that I was trying to expose this. I deal with a lot of harassment. I've dealt with years of gang stalking, as I shared about with my video last night. The stuff I've been through is very, very intense. And I have receipts for a lot of it, not for everything, but I have receipt after receipt, because it was year after year of abuse, year after year of harassment, and year after year of things that I went through. So I'm going to share, like I said the other day, I'm going to share more about my personal testimony in a couple of days, but I'm just giving you a brief overview if you've never seen any of these videos and you don't know what I'm trying to do here, trying to expose the worldwide trafficking ring. So the sex trafficking ring starts at the very top tiers of the American government. It's throughout the entire Senate and Congress. There is so many people in Senate and Congress that are involved. And how the sex trafficking ring, and I talked a little bit about this last night. I think it was last night in my video about gang stalking. I'm pretty sure that's the video I talked about it, but this is the fourth video, so it might have been the second video I talked about that. I'm not sure. This, by the way, for those of you who are watching this is really hard for me to talk about. It's traumatizing. I'm traumatized. I am triggered. This is a very difficult topic, so if I say something that doesn't make sense, or if I tell you the wrong video to watch, please don't hold it against me. I'm just very traumatized, and I'm trying to do this to share what I've been through so that I can help other people. So if something doesn't make sense, or if I say something that seems like you don't have clarity about it, you can send me a message on here. You can ask me any questions you want. Any questions, big or small, I'm willing to answer your questions. You can send me an email, info@theliontriumphs.com, with any questions regarding this, and I will be happy to answer you if I can. The sex trafficking ring starts at the highest levels of government in those specific countries, but especially in the American government, Senate, Congress, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people are involved. And the way that the sex trafficking ring works, as far as the high up echelons of the sex trafficking ring, you have your governmental officials, you have your billionaires, you have your celebrities. Those are the three top tier levels of the worldwide sex trafficking ring. Again, there's people who are in the government, people who are Hollywood celebrities. There are people who are victims who are trying to get out. They're being handled still. Some of them are straight up victims. Some of them have been forced to do things against their will because they were being handled, or being forced to do things because they were having death threats. A lot of celebrities are not willingly in the Illuminati, not willingly involved in sex trafficking, but they're being trafficked themselves, or they're being handled still. They need help getting out. They need help exposing things. They hint at things. A lot of celebrities that have nervous breakdowns publicly are actually victims, and they need compassion and love. And then some of them are actually programmed. Some of them have to do things for their handlers that they don't want to do. There's been celebrities that have reached out to me that have had to take part in rituals, have had to take part in sexual assaults of other people, not willingly, but they were forced to at gunpoint, or forced to at the threats of their family or their friends being murdered. This is these are serious crimes that people have gone through. So there's even celebrities and politicians who've reached out to me who've had these heinous things done to them, but they've had to take part in things. Some of the people that are involved in the Epstein files, not many, but a few, have either had one of two things happen. One of the things, they were set up by handlers because they were trying to expose things themselves, and there was people that were setting them up. Or two, there's a couple people that are connected to, that are names that are in the files that are connected to this, that people have smeared. But a couple of these people are actually victims themselves. They're being handled. They were forced to take part of things that they didn't want to take part of because they had guns trained on them, or they had weapons trained on their family, or their friends. Like, some stuff was forced by coercion. So they themselves are not willingly taking part of it. They were victims themselves, but they were being forced to perform and do these things. I had a couple of people that trafficked me, force some of my people that I'm friends with, and also one celebrity specifically that I was trafficked alongside of, they forced them to do things to me under duress with guns trained on them. They were not the rapists themselves, but they were forced to do things to me with guns trained on them, which means that they're victims as much as I am, but it messed with their heads. These people are disgusting. The traffickers are disgusting. The terrorists that are involved are disgusting. The pedophiles are disgusting, and they do heinous crimes at their rituals and at their trafficking that they do. So the establishment starts with it starts out with the government. The government's in control of the trafficking ring. Sometimes the billionaires and the government kind of go hand in hand. Most of the billionaires are involved. 85% of the billionaires are either traffickers themselves, or they're making money off the traffickers, or off the trafficking ring. There's a couple billionaires that are not involved, but most of them are involved. So the government and the billionaires are kind of tied at number one, trying to like cover up the crimes and trying to traffic people. I'm talking about hundreds of people in Senate and Congress. I'm talking about thousands of people connected to the CIA, to Blackwater, to the DOD, which I'm going to talk about here in a few minutes. This is rampant, guys. This is not something that's just one or two people. Pam Bondi, as crazy as she is, and she herself is a trafficker, by the way, which I'll address that at a later point. But she herself is a trafficker. She wasn't in the files, but she is a trafficker. And she said it correctly. As much as she's crazy and as evil as she is, she said one thing correctly, that it would deestablish the entire American government. Most of the government will go down. If we can expose the worldwide trafficking ring, the worldwide terrorism ring, most of the American government and multiple governments across the world will shatter. Why? Because of the Luciferian cult. Why? Because of Blackwater. Why? Because of the CIA. Why? Because of Red Mossad. Why? Because of MI6. I'm not MI6, sorry. MI6 is actually working against the worldwide trafficking ring for the most part. I'm talking about MI5, not MI6. I meant to say MI5. MI5 is involved. Red Mossad, Bibi Netanyahu, the Saudi royal family. We are talking about far reachings to different governments. This is very, very real, guys. And it's very intense. And I've been sharing this for almost a decade, actually over a decade now, because it's 2026, and I started exposing it, I think, in 2014, 2015, so it's been over a decade now. And I was actively exposing this. I had smear campaigns launched against me. I had numerous death threats, death attempts on my life. I've had so much stuff over the last decade, especially. I'm going to write a book soon with my best friend Carla. We're going to actually write a book exposing this stuff as well. These videos are kind of like a precursor to our book as well. But the point that I'm trying to make is that the establishment of the worldwide trafficking ring starts at the very, very tip top of the American government. It starts at the tip top of some people in the British royal family. Not everybody in the British royal family is involved. Some people are victims, but there are people in the British royal family involved. Besides for Prince Andrew, there's other people as well. It starts with the Saudi royal family. It starts with Bibi Netanyahu. It starts with the people, the rogue Russian agents, not Putin. Putin's very much against the sex trafficking ring. He hates the Luciferian cult. He's very much against that. But there's people that work directly under him that are handling him, forcing his hand in a lot of things. He's actually being handled. He's not somebody involved in the trafficking ring, but he's being handled by traffickers. It starts with the current American government, the administration that we have currently, the executive branch, the legislative branch. It has the Congress, the Senate. It has the American military. It has Blackwater, who's controlling almost everything, which I'll talk about that here in a few minutes. It's involved in every level of society, but especially the American government, especially the Australian government, especially the South African government, especially some people in the British royal family and some people in the British government, especially some people in the Ecuadorian government and some of the people in the Russian government and Bibi Netanyahu and the Saudi royal family. These people are actively involved in the trafficking. And I'm sure there's other people around the world, but these are people that I know for sure that I can confirm to you about this. Now, I'm sure there's other people, but I'm just talking about the people that I know specifically, either have done stuff to me, done stuff to my friends, or that I know from being IC adjacent. So the establishment starts with the government, and it has the billionaires involved, and then it goes down to celebrities and athletes. There are a lot of athletes are involved, a lot of celebrities are involved. So it goes down to there, and then we start to deal with the lower level people. So they have agents all around the world that they work with. They work with the intelligence community. There's intelligence agencies involved, such as the CIA, such as MI5, such as Mossad. There's a branch of the Mossad that's involved called Red Mossad, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes. There's intelligence in some of the Russian intelligence agencies are involved. Not all of them, but some of them are. Some of the South American intelligence agencies are involved, and some of the Australian intelligence agencies are involved. So we're talking about a massive worldwide empire of sex trafficking. And like I said, so it starts with those, and then it goes down. It starts out with the billionaires and the government, and then it goes down to the celebrities and the athletes, and then it goes down to some people in the intelligence community. Not all people, not all organizations. For instance, the FBI and MI6 are good organizations for the most part. There are bad agents trying to shut down the investigation, but they actually, MI6 and the FBI have actively been trying to destabilize the worldwide, destabilize the worldwide trafficking ring for over a decade now. MI6 and the FBI have been actively fighting against the sex trafficking. There are bad agents in both organizations that are trying to disrupt what they've been doing. But most of the agents in those areas are actually really trying to bring down the worldwide trafficking ring, which is great. Again, not everybody, but most of them. So we're talking about a massive attempt at a cover-up worldwide. And then we have the military involved, the Department of Defense, some of the people in the Saudi military, people tied to the Saudi armed forces. You have Red Mossad involved. You have Mossad agents involved. There's different things going on around the world. And then we go down to the banking system, which for those of you who know about conspiracies, you'll know, I've heard about the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds are real. There's a lot of disinfo out about them, but the Rothschild family is very, very actively involved in the sex trafficking ring. Jacob Rothschild was one of the people that handled Donald Trump. He was one of his main handlers. Jacob Rothschild is the grandfather for two people somebody I'm very, very close to, and his sister, who were trafficked by Trump and trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, both of them. Jacob Rothschild tormented me for a long time back in the early 2010s. I was being tormented by him. Never met him face to face, but he used to harass me and threaten me a lot, which I'll talk about in a couple of days. The Rothschild family is very, very real. Their reach is very real, but some of the conspiracies about them are lies. The point is that a lot of the conspiracy circles are focused on different things because they want to distract. There's a lot of controlled opposition and disinfo agents in the conspiracy circles who focus on the Illuminati and focus on the top 13 families, but they're distracted with things that have nothing to do with the real Illuminati. The real Illuminati sends controlled opposition and people into the movement about the conspiracy theorists, because there is truth to the conspiracy theorists and they're trying to make them look crazy. So there's controlled opposition who talk about some really insane off the wall things about the Rothschilds and about different top 13 families, which is just off the wall. What I'm talking about is that the only thing the Illuminati cares about is doing things to power up for Lucifer and for their false gods that they worship. They don't care about vaccines. They don't care about flat earth crap. They don't care about that stuff. That stuff's all a distraction. They care about sex trafficking and terrorism. That's basically all that the people in the Illuminati care about. That's what they care about. They're real. They want their sex. They want their power. They want their money. That's what it's about. So they're willing to do whatever it takes. Sex trafficking, false flag terrorism, Illuminati. Not everybody who's a trafficker, not everyone who's a terrorist is in the Illuminati, but everybody in the Illuminati is either involved in sex trafficking or false flag terrorism, which I'll talk about that and tomorrow actually I'll talk about false flag terrorism. So the next thing that I want to talk to you about is, so that's the establishment that we talked about. Now let's talk about the organizations involved. And again, if you have any questions about this, you can reach out to me on email, info@thelinetriumphs.com, or you can message me here on Facebook. Let's talk about the organization. So the top, what I call the unholy trinity, is Blackwater, the CIA, and the DOD. Now, for those of you who don't know much about Blackwater, which is not a very well-known establishment, but it's very, very powerful. Blackwater was founded by Eric Prince and Al Clark. I think it was back in the 90s, 1995, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about the year, but somewhere back there. It was started as a private security firm. Blackwater began to be an organization that was all about trying to protect people. But because Eric was being heavily handled by people at the CIA, and then ultimately he started working with the Department of Defense because they were mercenary. They ended up becoming a mercenary group. Eric Prince became one of the biggest traffickers in the world. Shadow traffickers, shadow he was a lot richer than the people think he is. He's not just a low-level billionaire. He has buku amounts of money. That guy is loaded. And it's a lot more than what people think he is. I'll just put it that way. Because he was involved in shadow trafficking, he was involved in terrorism, false flag terrorism. Eric Prince was one of the people that tormented me from the time I was a child. I've been dealing with him, and I will talk about him at length in one of my videos. That man has ruined a lot of my life. He was one of my main traffickers. He was one of my main stalkers. He was one of the people that ruined my life more than most people. But Eric is very intelligent. I'll give him that. He started Blackwater as a private security firm. Al is completely innocent. The only thing that Al did was money laundering a little bit for Eric, and a little bit of drug laundering. But as far as the trafficking and the terrorism goes, Al was not involved in that. He's the guy that co-founded Blackwater. Al Clark was being handled by Eric. Al was actually a really good man. He was not a bad man. He was involved a little bit with money laundering and drug trafficking, but he was doing that because he was being handled by Eric. Eric made Blackwater all about creating a worldwide establishment of sex trafficking and false flag terrorism. Blackwater has agents everywhere. They are a shadow organization that has taken over the American government, that has taken over Hollywood. A lot of people in the American government, a lot of people in Hollywood, a lot of people in the Saudi royal family, a lot of people that work with the Mossad, a lot of people that work for MI5, a lot of people that work for the banking industries are involved with Blackwater. They're Blackwater agents or operatives. The difference between being an agent and an operative is an agent is actually trained by Blackwater specifically for specific tasks. And an operative is somebody who works alongside of Blackwater. They might know what they're doing to a certain level, but they're not actively as involved. They might be doing the lower level stuff because, like I was talking about with the sex trafficking, you have your traffickers at the very top, and then you have the people who buy the trafficking victims, and then you have people underneath them who are what I call payoff people. They pay people off or to keep people silent, or they pay people off to smear people, or they pay people off to try to get rid of people, to have them 86, have them killed. Then there's your people that are gang stalkers, and they're people that are paid. They're paid operatives, usually for working for Blackwater on some level, or for an organization that works for Blackwater. Blackwater is massive. It's changed its names over the years, and Eric acts like he's no longer involved in Blackwater, but he is. Blackwater's incredibly loyal to Eric, and almost everybody that works for Blackwater is obsessed with him. They're absolutely in love with him. Eric is a very, very evil man. He did some of the most heinous crimes you could possibly imagine, and I'll share more about that in a couple of days. So Blackwater is one of the main organizations behind the worldwide trafficking ring. The CIA, of course, a lot of conspiracy theorists will know that. The CIA has 3 different groups of people involved in them. And the one group of people are actively trying to fight against the Illuminati, fight against the worldwide trafficking ring on the inside. There's a group of people that have been handled, that have been trafficked themselves, and they're trying to get justice for themselves and for victims on the inside. So there's some good people at the CIA. But there's 2/3 of the CIA are involved in the trafficking, involved in programming, involved in the drug trade, involved in the false flag terrorism. So we have the CIA involved. We have the Department of Defense, the DOD. The Pentagon, as I talked about last night in length, is disgusting. Now, I'm not talking about low-level military people. I'm talking about the high echelons people that work at the Pentagon. There is so much disgusting filth going on at the Pentagon. It's disgusting. And I'm going to share more in detail about that in the next couple days. But what I'm going to share is probably going to blow your minds. It's absolutely disgusting. But it's real. It's very, very real. I wish it wasn't, but it is. And then we have an aspect of the Mossad involved in this, and it's called Red Mossad. So let me tell you a little bit about Red Mossad. So at Mossad, there's 3 tiers of involvement in the Mossad, main tiers. Now, there might be other people that are involved that don't associate with these tiers, but there's 3 main Mossad agent type people that are in the Mossad. There's Green Mossad, Yellow Mossad, and Red Mossad. Green Mossad is the group of people that are in the Mossad that are good. They're trying to do the right thing as the intelligence community. Yellow Mossad are kind of in the middle. They're trying to do the right thing, but sometimes they might do things that are a little bit gray or a little bit darker. For instance, killing people that are bad, or sometimes like torturing people. Like, that's what I mean by gray. Like, they don't have any qualms about killing and torturing bad people. Now, we're not talking about good people, but bad people. So that's what Yellow Mossad is. Red Mossad is the Mossad's terrorist unit. They are also sex traffickers. There are multiple Red Mossad agents. Now, again, these terms are not things that the general public knows about, but those who are in the intelligence community knows what I'm talking about. And those who have been trafficked by the elite, a lot of you guys will know what I'm talking about as well. Red Mossad helps with false flag terrorism. They work closely with the CIA, with Blackwater, with the Department of Defense, and with MI5 to do false flag terrorist attacks. They also work with the Saudi royal family, Red Mossad. Now, I'm not talking about the regular Mossad. I'm talking about these Red Mossad agents. Why they're called Red Mossad as well, it's pretty self-explanatory. Bloodshed, because they're a false flag terrorist part of the Mossad. They go out and they kill people in masse. The other organization I want to talk about is MI5. MI5 is actively involved. They're pretty much like the CIA for Europe. They're the European version of the CIA, but they're not as bad. But they are actively involved. As far as governments go, and I already addressed this earlier, but I'm going to readdress this. The American government is full of the trafficking. Almost I think 85% of the worldwide trafficking ring is because of the American government and because of things connected to the American government, celebrities, politicians, military people. The American government's behind most everything that happens with the trafficking ring and also with false flag terrorism. The Australian government's involved, the British government's involved, South Africa, parts of Russian government, and parts of the Ecuadorian government. Again, there could be a lot more people than that. But I am talking specifically about governments around the world that are actively involved in sex trafficking. Now let's talk about the banking system. So for those of you, I was kind of touching on this earlier, but I kind of jumped around. Rothschild and Company is a big laundering front for child sex trafficking money. A lot of the money goes right back into the Rothschild and Company, obviously, because they're the Rothschilds. Another couple banks that I want to mention here is M&T Bank and Bank of America. If you have those banks, guys, consider getting out of those banks. They are actively involved in the sex trafficking, M&T Bank and Bank of America. Royal Canadian Bank, most of Canadian stuff most things are not involving Canada, but there is some involving in Canada. The Royal Canadian Bank works closely with the Rothschild and Company banking system and also with the Bank of America in America. Again, this is stuff going on behind the scenes. This isn't stuff that you can find on the internet. This is stuff that I know from stuff that I know behind the scenes. Also, there is the drug cartels that are involved. The Mexican, Colombian, Venezuelan, Ecuadorian drug cartels work closely with the worldwide sex trafficking ring. They are actually, a lot of them doing front running. They're running drugs, but actually they're running children and they're running women who are being trafficked, and even some men too, but mostly women and children. Parts of the Colombian and Venezuelan and Mexican and Ecuadorian drug cartels are actually working closely with the American government, with the CIA, the Department of Defense, Red Mossad, MI5, again, not MI6, MI5, and Blackwater to traffic children and to traffic women, and some men as well. And then I want to talk to you guys about a very important topic to me that's affected my life. Well, I'm going to go to there in a second. So, as I mentioned earlier, the royal families that are involved, some of the British royal family, not all of them, some of them are victims and they're trying to fight it, but some of the British royal family, besides for Prince Andrew, others. For instance, Prince Charles was a big trafficker. Queen Elizabeth was involved in it until the very end of her life when she actually gave her life to the Lord. And then there was Camilla, who's still involved in it. And then there's some other people connected to the British royal family that are involved. And then there's the Saudi royal family who are involved. They are almost all involved in it. And I was actually harassed deeply by one of the members of the Saudi royal family, which I'll share in a couple of days. This man had put a hit out on my life, and he actually tormented me for a while. And I'm going to actually share about that in a couple of days. So be watching for that video. Congress, Senate, and the Trump administration's actively involved in the sex trafficking. There's, like I said, some people that are good in all three of those groups, but very few. And the Treasury Department is actively involved. A lot of the money that's going from child sex trafficking is actually running through the Treasury Department. They have set up fake bank accounts, fake identification, fake social security numbers. They work closely with the traffickers to try to get them to go under the radar so that they can continue to traffic. This is going on behind the scenes, but I'm hoping that all this stuff's going to come out soon because it's been being investigated for years now. So now I want to talk to you about the news organizations involved. Let's actually go to the hotels first. Hotel rings that are involved. The Marriotts are very, very deeply involved with sex trafficking. I was trafficked at a Marriott hotel. I know a lot of people that were sex trafficked at a Marriott hotel. They are actively involved in them. They are turning a blind eye. Marriott hotels are a front for the sex trafficking. Again, not every Marriott hotel. I'm not talking about everything. When I'm talking about any of these, I'm not talking about the entire organizations. I'm talking about the people that run the organizations. I'm talking about the higher echelons, and I'm talking about people that work with them that are willingly doing this. Not everybody that works at Marriott's bad. Not everyone who has a Marriott hotel is bad, of course. You know, there's good people everywhere. That's not what I'm talking about. Marriott hotels, a couple of the Hilton hotels, but it depends on the leadership. There's some shadow leadership going on in the Hilton hotel industry that's actually working with the Rothschilds. And as we know, Paris's sister Nikki got married to a Rothschild. This runs deep with the Hilton family, where they're tied to the Rothschilds and to the sex trafficking. There are hotel branches that are localized branches. In DC, there's a hotel called the Architect Hotel that was involved in trafficking. The Regis Hotel in DC. These are places that I was trafficked, actually. So I'm sharing with you some of these hotels that I was trafficked at, or that I know people were trafficked at. The Astoria Windsor hotels are trafficking fronts. I think it's called Windsor's. Store Windsor's? I know it's Store something. I forget what they're called, but if anyone knows the exact name of that, just let me know. But the Store hotels are involved in it. So the hotels branches, they're very actively involved in it. Now let's talk about the news agencies. So, we are going to talk, I'm just going to mention one news agency, first, and then I'm going to go into detail about another organization, because I was tormented relentlessly by one news organization that I'm going to cover. So the first organization I want to talk to you guys about, I'm only going to mention two at the moment, is CBS. CBS's upper echelon is involved in sex trafficking. They are working together with various organizations that I already mentioned to you to traffic children. CBS is actively involved in trafficking and raping children, and trafficking and funneling money of the trafficking as well. So CBS is used as a funneling front. Next, let's talk to you about Fox. Okay, now Fox is crazy. The people at Fox are absolute lunatics. I was stalked, harassed, and raped by various people involved in Fox News. One of my main handlers for a while, one of the people that hurt me, was Sean Hannity. I was hurt by Sean Hannity. I'm going to go more into detail about this in a couple of days. Sean Hannity was somebody who hurt me. Geraldo Rivera. I was stalked relentlessly by Janine Shapiro. I was stalked relentlessly by that Tony chick. I forget what her name is. Tony. Oh gosh, I can't remember what her last name. I think you guys know who I'm talking about though. She was a younger girl. She was blonde. She was a younger girl. Tony something. Those four people specifically really targeted me, but Fox News is actively involved in the sex trafficking. Geraldo Rivera and Sean Hannity have sex parties at their houses. I never went to the sex parties at their houses, but I was abused by both of them. They were both abusers of mine. I was relentlessly stalked by Sean. He threatened to kill me. He wanted to silence me for good. He put attempts on my life. That man is one of the most evil men. He's absolutely disgusting. Geraldo Rivera is disgusting. He's a rapist. He's a pig. He loves trafficking children. They have active sex parties at their houses. They do rape parties. That's what they call them, rape orgy parties. They do rape parties, actively having children being trafficked and raped at their houses. Sean Hannity and Tucker Carlson. He was another one that was involved in it. Tucker Carlson abused me, and he was also stalking me. So Fox News is full of insane lunatics. Now, some of those people are no longer at Fox. I don't know much about who's at Fox right now, because I want nothing to do with Fox News because of what I've gone through. But I know right now, I can tell you guys, Fox News is owned by the Illuminati. It's used to basically peddle false doctrine, false teachings. It's used to peddle false news. It's used to put out propaganda. It's used to mind control people, program people. And it's a front for sex trafficking. Fox News is actively involved in the worldwide trafficking ring, and I would encourage each and every person to please stay away from Fox News. If you listen to anything that I said tonight, that's the one thing I really want to get through your head. Stay away from Fox News. They're insane. They are some of the most evil people. Tucker Carlson, Janine Shapiro, that Tony girl, Sean Hannity. Ugh. I'll just say that again, Sean Hannity. He's disgusting. And Geraldo Rivera, and those five specifically are absolutely disgusting people, but none of them are more disgusting than Sean Hannity. Some of the stuff he did to me, I'm going to share in a couple of days, but he was an absolutely horrific man, horrible, evil, but they were all bad. So Fox is another organization involved. So these are the things that I wanted to share with you guys tonight. Tomorrow I'm going to share with you about see, let me get my notes out. I'm going to share with you tomorrow about false flag terrorism and about programming, because they kind of go hand in hand. And I might even do my DID video tomorrow. I might do 3 videos tomorrow, actually. I want you guys to know that all of this information is just so that you can understand what's going on, not to be afraid of anything, but so that you can understand, so you can be aware of these things, so that you can help other people, and you can be aware and start trying to protest and start trying to keep pushing for the Epstein files to be turned into trials. Turn the files into trials. I love that. I've been seeing that around social media. Turn the files into trials. Keep pushing, keep pressuring. Get the pressure on getting these files exposed fully, and everybody connected to the files, because not all the people that are in the files, or not everybody's in the files, but they're all connected to the same people that are in the files. It's a massive ring, and it needs to be exposed from the very tippy top leaders all the way down to the bottom. So you guys have a great night, and God